broadcasting, as you know, from the Democratic National Convention here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Philadelphia, one of the cities, if I'm not mistaken, that was one of the foundations for doo-wop music. But our next guest knows better than me, because he is, in addition to being an activist on senior issues, he is also known as one of the founding or foundational figures of the group Sha Na Na. John Bowzer Bauman is with Senior Votes Count, and Bowzer joins us now. Thank you, John.
That was pretty good there, Rich.
Did I do all right?
Yeah,
did I do all right?
Used it okay.
All right.
This is how we talk here in Philly, you know.
Yeah, that's right. No,
Not really.
I know it isn't. I know it's not how you talk either. You went to Columbia,
it's not how
right?
I
That's
know,
how they talk at Columbia.
Sha Na Na started at Columbia. What did we do?
Are you from Philly originally?
No, I'm from New York, actually.
Yeah,
but you are quite right that Philadelphia is one of the hotbeds of doo-wop. That one of the where doo-wop was created. New York, Philadelphia. A lot of places that you don't think of, too, actually were very important. Pittsburgh, oddly, Los Angeles.
And I remember the story. So I knew a guy, and then we'll get into the issues, but I knew a neighbor of my mother's named Luke Cacchetti. And he used to produce some of the stories about how these guys used to go around in their cars and listen to the kids on the corner singing doo-wop.
Yes, that's what it was about. It actually happened that way.
It was a kind of people's music.
But it was music music that brought America together. And very important as we're having this conversation that you and I so there have been so many peace conferences over the years, and this is about to be yet another. On Sha Na Na, we had the Letterman on one as our guest on the Sha Na Na television show, and we had the Greaser Letterman Peace Conference. Right, which was actually a very funny sketch.
Because there used to be days when guys who looked like the Letterman and guys who looked like like Sha Na Na
that is correct.
would brawl.
That is correct, and we had the Greaser Letterman Peace Conference, and
the nerds like me
have
would
the
cower
Bernie
under
Hillary
the desk.
Peace Conference.
That's right.
Everything's going really well. Unity.
We'll work it out with music.
Well, and how much did that really happen in the 50s? Because remember, music really was one of the major factors that brought people together in our childhood. You know, people of every different background brought races together. Music was the bridge. In a lot of ways socially that led to all the changes that happened in the 60s.
Right.
The music of the 50s led to the social change of the 60s in more ways than you might imagine.
Yeah, it's interesting whether it's Elvis and how, there's that famous story that Elvis, growing up in the South, they didn't want to ask him on the radio what race he was.
That's correct.
They asked him where he went to high school, and
he was a truck driver
from
He was
Tupelo,
a truck driver who listened to very little but Delta blues.
Right, and this, you're right. We need a bridge like that again, don't we? I mean, we need to start seriously building more bridges. Maybe music will play that role again.
Well, and it continues to. It always does play that role. So, and it continues to today. I think it's one of its primary functions.
So, no, I couldn't agree with you more. Listen, I could talk about music all day, but you probably didn't come to the DNC to talk about music, right?
Not particularly, although I understand I had a few few people told me that I was on camera singing Bridge Over Troubled Water yesterday.
I can't picture that.
With Paul Simon.
Really?
Yeah,
alongside.
Paul Simon.
Yeah. Well, John Bowzer Bauman, John, as I like to call you.
That's pretty clever, Rich.
You like that? It's my pet name for you.
You can call me Bowzer, though.
Bowzer.
But then I'll respond like this. So you want to talk about Social Security or what?
Yeah, what's up? What's up? What's the story?
Well, we're very excited. Okay, so Senior Votes Count, which you remember from last cycle.
I do.
We did 35 endorsements, coast to coast, actually worse than coast to coast, more than coast to coast. We went to Alaska to give Mark Begich a Social Security award, and then we went as far as South Florida, and from Maine to Southern California. And we did 22 House races, endorsements in 22 House races, 7 Senate, and 6 gubernatorial. And it wasn't a great cycle, but we had some significant successes. We're going to do the same during this cycle, which we expect to go much better. It's a presidential year. And again, we're going to find candidates who are good on our issues, and we're going to give them some help and get them some earned media. And I'm going to run around all over the country doing it.
John, when you and I first talked about Social Security. It's a few years ago. And those were the days when we were trying to prevent a kind of bipartisan deal. Remember those days?
I certainly do.
To cut Social Security.
Yes.
Now
Right.
we have a Democratic Party that is on record in its
Best platform ever.
Best platform. I would agree with that.
Right, most progressive platform ever.
The only difference in the presidential primaries was in what way do you want to expand Social
Correct.
Security? That's such a huge difference. Now, I would say that the political climate has changed so much that we've even got a Republican running for president who wants people to believe that he won't cut Social Security.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
And
that guy won.
It is flabbergasting.
Right. And I, there are a lot of things went into this guy winning.
Of course, he's going to run up against the powers that be in his own party, who are going to try to disabuse him of this ridiculous notion that Social Security should actually not be cut. But
because these guys, they don't just want to cut Social Security. I think they hate Social Security.
Right. They want to, and we've known for a long time, they want to privatize Social Security. They want to turn Medicare into a voucher system. They want to turn the money over to Wall Street in exchange for campaign contributions. That's not hard to understand.
Right.
And they want to turn the Medicare money over back to insurance companies in exchange for massive campaign contributions. How hard is this to understand?
They want to privatize Social Security and Medicare for the same reason Willie Sutton wanted to rob banks.
Correct. It's where the money is.
And the other piece is they're both signs of government when it works. And that just irritates them. So let me ask you, we got an election year coming up. We're at the Democratic National Convention. We're about to endorse, or this convention is about to endorse presidential candidate. How easy is it going to be to distinguish Democrats from Republicans on this issue going forward? I mean, I would say, especially at the presidential level, given that you do have Donald Trump pretending that he wants to defend Social Security.
Well, the presidential, let's see what happens in the presidential area, because of course Donald Trump, number one, is going to have to reach some kind of understanding with his running mate, who, as I remember, it has a 3% lifetime rating from the Alliance for Retired Americans on Social Security and Medicare. I mean, this is 3%. That's not very good.
No.
That means that 97% of the votes that he took while he was in Congress were the wrong vote. Were the wrong vote according to us.
Right.
So you could really, he's going to have it out with his running mate, as well as obviously the Senate Majority Leader, the Speaker of the House, and pretty much everybody else we can think of, if he really intends to move forward on this notion. He's waffling already, but okay, let's give the presidential the benefit of the doubt that maybe just maybe Donald Trump is actually serious about not trying to destroy Social Security and Medicare. Let's move on to Senate races and House races and everything else we have to discuss, where everyone is on record. Pretty much, look, in our last cycle, senior votes count. We are good about sending our questionnaire to both sides of a race. So we sent our questionnaire to both sides of every race that we endorsed in. And I can honestly say that would you like to guess, my friend Richard, exactly how many questionnaires we received back from Republican candidates out of our 35 endorsements?
I'm going to guess it was less than one.
It was less than one. That is a very good guess. I knew you could get this in one guess.
I could get in range.
Because we never even got the questionnaire back. In other words, never.
Right.
Not only was there nothing to evaluate, we would have been happy to compare the answers, but there were no answers. We never even got one questionnaire back. So that really tells you something. Now, at the same time, and I'm mightily concerned about this, and I'm sure so are you. We have some forces in senior issues world that we've been trying to move since then, and I don't know how successful we've been, but for instance, the AARP voter recommendations, which have taken this turn towards quoting from people's websites.
Right.
So, for instance, if you go back to last cycle, okay, so here's the voter guide from AARP Joni Ernst in
Right.
Iowa. Joni will protect your Social Security and your Medicare. Source, www.joniernst.com.
Right.
Okay, because as you and I both know, there has really been a turn taken on privatization and voucherization.
Right.
She's somebody who was very clearly, when she was in the Iowa state she was a state senator in Iowa, had taken a vote, a virulent anti-Medicare vote, which you rarely get a chance to do as a state legislature,
Right.
but it came up and she did it. Now she's running for Senate, and all of a sudden you're getting these, I love Social Security. I'm going to protect it. Well, how exactly are you going to do it? I choose not to answer that question.
All right, John.
This we really got to watch.
No, absolutely. I think you bring up a fantastic point. Again, we're talking with John
They're
Bowzer.
trying to cover it over.
Right, and that's
Right.
the point I wanted to address to you. You have something, I've seen the polling that says that Social Security, for example, is what they call a valence issue, meaning if people understand the differences, they will move their votes.
Correct.
They will change a lot. But they do these things to obscure. We have Paul Ryan, Speaker of the House, and if you say Paul Ryan and the House Republicans want to abolish Medicare, what they say is no. We just want to dismantle everything that comes to your mind when you think the word Medicare, and we want to give you something worth about 75 cents, and we're going to call it a voucher, and that's going to be Medicare,
Well,
and you'll
already
pay the
being
difference.
kind. That's already being kind. The point that I'm trying to make is really the simpler one, which is you say you're trying to destroy Medicare. Oh, no. We're trying to save Medicare.
Right. That's the
so
first
what
thing.
do you do?
How
We're
do you
not trying
message
to
against
protect
it?
Social Security, and we're trying to save Medicare.
Right.
Well, the way that we have to fight against that is by going to that next level that you bring up, which is the level of detail. Oh, precisely how are you going to do that? And as soon as we get to precisely how they're going to do that, it does always, as soon as the detail comes into play, it's pretty easy for us to message our side of it, because the detail is to give you a voucher, and when your voucher runs out, we're going to send you back to private insurance.
And the cost of the voucher will not increase as much as the cost of your medical care, so it'll be worth less and less every year. So you're going out again this year. There's a lot of talk about whether the Democrats can take back the Senate.
Yes,
I don't know. What's your vibration on that?
Oh, good. The Senate races, look, we feel we have a presidential candidate running against us who's going to drag down the whole ticket eventually. That's going to help us. And if you look at a lot of the Senate races individually, where, blissfully, if you look at some of the most optimistic ones, like Wisconsin, where we have one of the greatest champions of Social Security and Medicare that there's ever been, Russ Feingold, running against someone who's been completely useless in his one term. That's one that we just have to love on every level. And we've got a lot of good-looking races out there on our issues and on a lot of issues. So I think the prospect of taking back the Senate is prima facie pretty good. Now we're going to look very hard and closely at people who in the past have been, not 100% or somewhat compromised. But, Evan Bayh comes back in the picture.
Right.
Now the issue for us becomes, is Evan Bayh still much better than who he's running against? And the likelihood there is going to be yes, but we'll definitely take a close look at it.
And perhaps attempt to persuade a candidate like that of the virtues of a stronger position.
And we will work my next point exactly, which is, as we have moved towards expansion, our questions, I think this is a clear way of putting it, our questions for candidates in the last cycle really pretty much put them at no cuts. In other words, we were willing to, we were asking questions about refusing to cut Social Security. And we were accepting answers about refusing to cut Social Security.
Right.
Our questions this time are going to be about the base level now is, what are your feelings about expansion?
Right. Good.
Where are you going to stand on expansion? So we are going to move as the platform has moved and as the electorate has moved and as the country has moved due to work like people like you during this time period, and it all matters. We are at expansion now. We're discussing expansion.
Good. Now
Both Democratic candidates, serious Democratic candidates this year, have came out for expansion.
Right.
Might not be precisely the same expansion, and that's okay.
That's a debate I'm willing to have.
And that's
I don't
the
know
debate
about
we're willing to have. So this is going to be our starting point, and this is going to be our starting point for candidates. Would we look at a candidate whose position really was, okay, no cuts and it's firm, no cuts, what I call no cuts with no buts.
Uh-huh.
You know, meaning there's right.
Yeah.
No cuts and it's not, but, well, if, you know, maybe
Right.
if there, no cuts with no buts. We'll look at a candidate who's at no cuts with no buts. If the opponent is a privatizer and a voucherizer, sure, I think that's still fair. But our basic starting point is expansion.
Yeah, good. Well, no, okay, my last question, it's a tough one. Are you ready? Where can people go to find more information about... I'm sorry to be rough and throw this one on you.
I thought it was going to be who sang a little bit of soap, and the answer is the Jarmels.
No. Right.
Or something like that.
Right.
Pick a song.
Who sang that one? There are diamonds and pearls. That's the first line. There are diamonds and pearls. I forget. Rubies and emeralds and gold. I've always loved that song. I can't remember who
sang this one. This is the real question. Who sang this one? Bum 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 dang 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 ding a dong ding. I love Social Security.
I think it was you.
Oh yeah, that was me.
Yeah,
that was really the Marcel stuff.
All right, John.
And they love Social Security too.
All right, I'm going to answer my question since it was obviously too tough for you. www.seniorvotescount.com.
Yes, www.seniorvotescount.com.
Well done, John.
Be there or be square.
Absolutely.
We got one more thing to say. Good night and grease for peace.
There you go.